Hey everybody, it's Tom, and last time I talked a bit about Ivan Illich and his notion of the hidden curriculum in school, and more broadly his criticism of institutional schooling as in many ways leading to the dissolution of learning, authentic learning, in lieu of, you might call it indoctrination, but minimally in lieu of a way of relaying information that is amenable to a quantitative, controlling, one might even say imperialistic tact. And what I'm getting ready to go to do now is transition to another text by Ivan Illich. It was actually the first one that I encountered, and it's medical Nemesis, or the limits to medicine. Initially written in the 70s, it was reissued as Limits to Medicine in a more updated version in the 80s, and again in this edition is the 1995 edition. Fascinating text wherein we run through a sort of very similar set of reflections about institutionality. I mean, there's an underlying thesis through lots of Ivan Illich's work that when any institution reaches a certain scale, it tends to then undermine the ends for which it is established. Thus, schooling leads to the compromising of learning. Thus, high-speed traffic leads to congestion and paralysis. Thus, institutional medicine becomes actually a profound threat to human health. And in this regard, what we have is a reflection that is absolutely relevant to our current impasse. What Illich contends is that contemporary medicine has produced an epidemic of iatrogenesis. Iatrogenesis is the technical term for when a pathological outcome has derived directly or indirectly from actual medical treatment, where the attempt to assist has actually harmed the patient. And this iatrogenic epidemic, which he sketches as originating in the, probably in the 50s, but really sort of blossoming, blooming, going forth and advancing through the 70s, and unfortunately beyond the point where he composed this essay or book. It sort of splits out along three different lines. There's clinical iatrogenesis, social iatrogenesis, and probably most perilously, there is cultural iatrogenesis, where the fixation on medical model, the medicalization of human life, leads to a fundamentally diseased sense of who and what we are as human beings. Or, as he puts it in the 1995 preface to his work, what you have is a replacement of the idea of the human person with the idea of a human system, or even sometimes you could go on and say just as an immune system. As soon as you make this maneuver, what you invite is the reduction of the individual, of the person, as a fully rich being, a reduction of that individual, that person, as a being to simply a system, to a life, to a unit that can be managed, manipulated, inserted into an essentially machine-like framework. Or now what we have is something which is almost cybernetic. It's more than simply a reduction to the mechanical. its reduction to what is merely statistical. This shift vacates, in Illich's view, I would say, the possibility of a truly ethical engagement in relationship. Because the terms of ethical engagement in relationship are terms of personhood. Once you have evacuated the category of personhood from your evaluation, you are no longer operating in the universe where the ethical or the moral is a live category. In this respect, there's a very interesting point of intersection with Ivan Illich and another thinker, Jacques Ellul, whose Technological Society, along with other works of his, the Technological Society is probably just his most famous work, was deeply critical of the technological mentality as undermining what is ethically possible. But that's just sort of tangential to the remarks I'm making today, sort of as prefatory to a deeper dive into Ivan Illich's limits to medicine or medical nemesis. And here what I've just sort of done is sort of recapitulated some of the main points he advances in his preface to his work in 1995. Beyond noting that the manner in which the reduction of the human person to a category as simply a system or a patient or the elm of so many metrics from various tests and procedures, besides for noting how this displacement of the human being into that lens annihilates the significance of the person, he indicates additionally a limitation in the original work, where many times his own vocabulary, his own framings accidentally played into the hands of this displacement, where you even look at the notion of coping as a way of inviting a sort of systems approach into the universe. Why coping? Well, he marries that to a very interesting exploration of the etymology of the word. But without going into that, what you could say is that there emerges an obsession with managing, manipulating, controlling the terms of one's life. And management, manipulation, and control, what they do is they feed into a story of evasion. What evasion of what, you may counter, and that's the evasion of certain realities of human life. And here, in medical nemesis, that evasion is of terms like suffering, disease, mortality. Not that these are the sum of human life, but they are integral to it, experiencing it in a fulfilled fashion. And by evading them, we really are negating the fullness of who we are as human beings. And hence, the peril of the present moment, where we are handing over, or have handed over so much to the medical industrial complex. And in so doing, we have not just created economic and political and really medical issues that mirror everything that he talks about in terms of an iatrogenic epidemic, right? But we have also sort of imperiled our own self-conception and the fruit that can be derived from reconnecting with another self-conception, one that is grounded in the real as opposed to simply a statistical account of what we are. So much by way of some prefatory remarks. I just wanted to get something out there. I hope you're all doing well, and I will get more out there as soon as I can.